afternoon and welcome to Markets Today. It's another edition as we have a look at the markets and their performance across the country and across the globe. As usual, we have seen significant improvement this week. The markets are in the green. I saw that the all share index is up about 0.68% and the NSE 20 share index is up 0.39%. But before we delve into the conversation, let's have a look at the stocks making news from the market. We'll start with the gainers. And the major gainers are HF Group, went up 9.36% to close the day at 3 shillings 74 cents. Sasini PLC, an agricultural, made it to this list today, having gone up 6.44%, registering significant gains on the prices, closing the day at 2 shillings 30 cents. Sanlam Kenya closed the day at 11 shillings, being 4.76% up. Uchumi Supermarkets is still enjoying its ray of hope in the greens at 23 cents, being 4.55% up. CIC Insurance is equally having a wonderful week, 2 shillings 30 cents, closing the day at 4.07%, being the last one in the gainers group. Let's move to the losers. The counters that have lost most value on their prices this week include Unga Group, closed the day at 33 shillings and 10 cents, being 8.69% lower. TransCentury equally had a bad day, closed the day at 1 shilling 25 cents, being 4.58% lower. Car & General is having a correction, 60 shillings, being 3.23% lower. Umeme Limited, the power company from across the border, closed the day at 6 shillings, being 3.23% lower. Diamond Trust Bank closed the day at 58.25, being 2.92% and closing the list of the major losers. Finally, the biggest movers in the market, the Cooperative Bank is leading the pack at 1 million shares traded. This is significantly lower than what was traded yesterday. I think the biggest mover yesterday was moved 14 million, Equity Bank, if I'm not mistaken. East African breweries also made this list at 936,000 shares. Safaricom PLC did 413,000 shares. Equity Group is still here, doing 285,000 shares, and Absa Group, which was also in the big list yesterday, is also still here at 251,000 shares. Significant trading there. Well, the markets are improving, even though the volume today is not as much as we saw yesterday, but we've seen significant improvement in the volumes over the weeks. We've also seen price gains and value increment, albeit a bit marginal over the weeks. But what is the macro environment looking like, even as we do business in the markets? Well, we want to have a conversation about political risks versus the markets, our expectations on how the elections of 2022 will affect the trading and the market, as it were. To have this conversation with us, I am joined by our analyst on macro, Mr. Abraham Muthogo, who is a senior analyst. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
Excellent. Good to see you back.
Yes, good to see you again.
I hope you've had a comparatively lovely week, considering the interesting news we've had.
Yes, I have. I have.
Perhaps an observation of your observation of the market. This week, we've seen some improvements. What do you make of it?
I think overall it reflects, as you're saying, of the optimism of the market. But what's interesting, if you look at the top gainers, they are all names that you normally see in the alternative segment. It's not names you see a lot. So that tells you that people are trying to look for other horizons to put their money. But again, when you come to the top movers, the list is obvious because of the liquidity of those shares. You really can't go around, because you see, it's the banks, the teleco, and the brewery. You'll always be around there somewhere, because that's where you can really push good stock.
Yeah.
So I think it also informs that maybe we need to make the other counters a bit more liquid, so that we can have some a bit, because when you want to move big numbers, you're stuck with those less than 10 counters.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but overall, when you look at the indices, and even the losses are not drastic. I mean, they are really marginal losses. Even when you go to the top losers, I mean the bottom losers or top losers, if you, whatever you want to call them, those losses are marginal. So on the overall, yes, we see that it's rising again. But so what's driving it? Probably optimism, probably position taking, probably replacement of people who understand election economics, replacing the ones who fear elections. So it's, because there are people who are exiting, but they're being replaced by others. And if that can't be felt as yet, then it means maybe we've done a good job of educating people of how our markets operate in an election year, to a point where now people know how to invest, the same way people invest in war-torn countries.
All right.
Yes.
Are there any stocks that you are eyeing? I'm assuming that you are an avid investor in the stock market. Are there any stocks that you are eyeing, or you're more of a bond person?
No, actually both, depending on what I'm looking at. Again, the bonds have become very attractive because of the kind of bonds that are coming out, and you can see they are being snapped up. Because a bond with a yield of 12, 13, and it's interest-free. I mean, you've basically locked your income for such a long time.
Yeah.
And it's fixed. So that in itself, if you mix it with a bit of stocks that are fairly stable over time, then you can have a fairly evened out return. But then again, there are those stocks that are depressed if you compare their price vis-a-vis their value. And I think those are the ones people, and maybe that could be informing why you've seen the top gainers are counters that normally people don't go to.
The small.
Yeah. Maybe now people are starting to use their math and saying, no, maybe this is where I want to go. And that definitely has to be a long-term position, because those will not grow tomorrow.
All right. It's been an interesting month, or should I say 2 weeks. Government officials are resigning en masse, going into politics. What's driving this stampede from government offices?
They're resigning to go and try to go into politics. Some of them will not make it, and they'll fall in the cracks.
Yes.
But yes, it is a bit interesting as to the allure of politics, that somebody can leave the kind of jobs they're leaving behind. But then again, I think a human being who we are and how we are made up, we always want the next best thing, or the next good thing, or the next thing that gives us a high. And if you use Maslow, I think they basically have met their food, shelter, and clothing issues. So really, they want another challenge, and now they want power. So I want to believe that's what it's driving. I don't want to believe anything else could be driving their reason of moving one office to go to the other. But yeah, so let me stay on the fact that they want to.
Thank you. I love your faith.
Yes.
But is there an issue of maybe they are looking forward to corrupt gains?
Scientifically speaking, it's very hard to tell, to check whether something is going to happen, because it's mere speculation. But
you do know that past events inform current
Yes.
and future. These people have observed that people in influential political positions, one, have access to corrupt resources. Two, get away with efforts to get them and make a living. Some of them make a fortune out of it.
Yes, that is a possibility. But I want to believe that some of them are going into that now purely to actualize themselves, because some of them, the kind of money they have already, I don't think they're going to get more money that they don't already have, some of them. So we have a chunk of those who are going to actualize themselves. We could have those ones who are going to try and do what you just said, but it is what it is. And only time will tell. Yeah. For those ones that will make it, then we see what they do. Those who don't make it, they fall in the cracks and they disappear. Don't believe you.
Well, we wish them well. What risks do you foresee in the coming elections?
Economic risks. See, the biggest risk actually right now is for this economy, the way we have been perceived to be a 5-year cyclical economy. That really affects us because we're just talking about the counters. You already see people exiting, people taking long-term positions, people taking wait and see attitudes. That is one. Number two, we are staring at probable inflation because as much as we may not want to talk about it, money will start surfacing from wherever it has been. And it will be poured. And it will be poured in large quantities. Now, that money is not commensurate with any production. So the obvious will happen. Inflation. So that's a metric that we need to do something about straight away. The only good thing is that CBK so far has done a good job of monitoring money supply. So it will not take them long to detect the amount of money in the market. So do instruments, do open market operations, whatever they need to do to mop up whatever will be coming out. Because otherwise you don't, the inflation pressure is already there. As we have been arguing here, whether the numbers reflect what is there. Yeah. But if you look worldwide, now everybody has accepted there's inflationary pressure. Yeah. So if we increase it by that kind of now, especially money supply driven inflation, then we'll have a problem. So that to me that's another very big risk that we are looking at, that we need to really take care of early. Lastly, the issue of budget. Being able to do all the things that we need to do, given that there are things that we are doing this year that only happens every 5 years. You can see how much IBC is gobbling. That's just IBC, but the things that go around within an election,
the security,
the support, so it's a huge budget. But it is the price of democracy. That one I have no qualms if we spend that kind of money for democracy, because I think that's who we are and that's what we decided to be. Yeah. But yes, it will impact. That means certain things will not get done, either at the capital level, but at the recurrent level, you have to do it. If it's salary, you have to pay one way or the other. Right? But so what will get hit is the capital budget.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the elections of 2017, for instance, our inflationary pressures were within range, actually. You'd find that I think the highest we went was maybe 6.9%. So do you foresee that perhaps that might get out of hand this year?
No, it will. As I'm saying, since CBK have very good detective methods of monitoring money supply, which they do daily. See, if they're ahead of that curve, which they always, most if not all the time are, then we'll never get there. That only happens when it catches you by surprise. But if you're monitoring money supply, you can see it rising, then intervene. Yeah. If as long as we intervene, then nothing's going to happen.
So there might be a lot of mopping happening.
Yes.
And that, of course, perhaps translates to more debt.
Yes.
Okay. Is there a way that perhaps investors and the private sector can mitigate against some of these risks?
Yes. You see, what they need to do, two things. One, ensure that they're liquid to meet their needs in the year. So invest in assets that they can cash in in 12 months at short notice. I mean, on call, literally. Then have then lock in good assets like bonds for the long run, so that once you've done your 12 months and survived them, then you need something to sustain you as the economy picks up. So it's two-pronged. One, the liquidity strategy, where you keep enough money either in cash or in near cash assets to keep you going for your working capital cycle. And then the next one now is for the horizon, for the mid to the long term, whether you're looking in on bonds, on this kind of stocks that will take time to kick in, to keep you going. Especially a year after election is a year where the economy is supposed to be rising, but may not rise fast enough for what you need for your business. Yes. So you need something that you're blocked earlier. Yeah. So to me, if that two-prong approach would work. Yeah.
I think I agree with you, because they say that after you're elected, when your ratings are very high, that's the right time to make some unpopular decisions.
Which they do. And in Kenya, you can almost imagine what they will be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I expect that, when the new administration comes to power, some difficult decisions will be made. And so for there to be a proper turnaround in the economy, we expect that this will only happen maybe by the second or the third year, because in the initial stages, you'd expect that they want to ensure they take care of the inflationary pressures that have been there. They want to ensure that the economy is stable. They want to be sure that there is no more, quote unquote, borrowing. But I want to perhaps go into a subject that is neopolitical. The IEBC has insisted that Elections Regulation Act that Parliament dilly-dallied with is in fact in force. And one of the things that they have addressed is election spending, because they want to manage what you alluded to, the risk of inflation. They want to ensure that candidates don't overspend, because overspending leads to inflation. I don't know, what do you think about this? Is it going to be effective?
This kind of, the law is very well written, if you read it through. But everything is about the implementation. Because today, theoretically speaking, how do you actually monitor what politician A is spending on? And is spending through proxy. How do you monitor that? And even for that person, are you monitoring it, or you are waiting for them to give you a return and you vet it? What mode does it take?
You see, that what they have proposed is that a candidate must have a committee. This committee must have a CPA that reports. There has to be the election spending account, which of course you will have to submit the statements, submit the audited reports to IEBC, and make sure that if your cap is 14 million, then 14 million was spent or less.
Anything that is prepared, anything documentary can reflect whatever it is that you want it to reflect. And that has been shown even in all the big corporate failures have happened when they are being audited by the big five. Why? Because it's at the end of the day, you can get away with anything when it comes to anything documentary. What am I getting at? I think at the end of the day, it boils down to the integrity of these people. Because I think you can only monitor them to only so far. Because if the presenter said we did 14 million, does the IBC have the capacity to audit all those statements? All MCAs who are vying, all MPs, all governors, women reps, and presidential candidates. I mean, it is obscene, the number that is involved. So what method?
And the figures therein.
Yes. So the thing is capacity. The law is very well written. It's very well meaning. Having a CPA, all that is okay, because you have a certain format. Because for you to check that thing, you'd have to look at that document and have bank accounts, because bank balances don't lie. But for that, to do that for people, a number approaching 20,000 people in a short time unless they would have to employ a lot of people.
Yeah.
But it is well meaning. I think it's a good start. It may not work now, but as we go along, we'll get better ways of ensuring that it works, because it's true. It is the only way we level the field. Because it means if you have a lot of money, then you can actually corrupt justice.
And people with a lot of money indeed corrupt justice. But let's not go there yet. There was a proposal that you must have a level of education for you to apply.
Yes.
Is it time then we implemented this? Because the number of guys presenting themselves for election is too high. We perhaps needs to manage that a little.
But it is the only job that requires no qualification. Anybody can walk in and be any of those positions. Number two,
including the presidency.
Presidency, the qualification is age, 35 years and above.
I think they reviewed that, but nowadays only 22-year-olds can vie.
Unless they remove the cap, but I know there was a lower cap. There was no upper cap. So, but if you look at all these positions, at the end of the day, is what is that we're trying to achieve? I mean, are we this job that everybody seems to be going for? Then there's the degree issue. But you see, you're expecting association of landlords to convene to reduce rent. It will never happen.
Hold that thought. We have to go for a break.
Yeah.
And when we come back, we'll pick it up from there. That IEBC is expecting the Association of Landlords to reduce rent.
Yeah,
it will never happen.
No.
Should we reduce the number of people that are running for office? Should we enforce the law that they need to have a university degree? This is part of our conversation today as we look at the political risks around markets. Don't go away. We'll take a short break and we'll be back in a few.